This is a meeting of the Mountain Trails Committee, May 6th. We have some members of the public, so we could go around and introduce ourselves.
Ken, I'm Sean Schultz, a teacher over there, high school science and do Boy Scout stuff.
Chad Wright, I'm a member of the Cottonwagon Trailblazers Snowmobile Club, snowmobile / ATV club, so with the trail system for that.
David Cody, ed tech over there at the elementary school and a mountain biker.
Chuck Cohen, with the H Friendly Committee, bike and hike. I'm currently the chair.
I'm Chris Bryant. I'm the vice chair. I'm a Nordic skier.
Garrett Peterson's secretary of the committee and a member of the economic development committee in town. Just a hiker.
My name's Berlin Hears. I'm just a resident in town who also likes to hike.
I'm Jen. I live at Elm Crest Farm and I am a hiker, rock climber, outdoors person.
Thanks for coming.
But the people on Zoom, if you want to introduce yourselves. Okay.
It might be. If you're on Zoom and you're willing to introduce yourself.
Peter B.
Space bar.
Okay, well, if you want to say anything, raise your hand and we'll try to notice.
We do have at the end, we'll have a public comment period. Speak then. Okay, first thing is minutes from 3/18. Months ahead, 4/15. I looked over, they look good. I think we got them. Any edits on those? Hearing none, any motion to accept those? Okay, move to accept, second. Chad. Favor?
Bye.
Okay. Okay, this on the main trails program trainings. So I think I sent out to you folks the follow-up sort of in-person trainings that were gonna be happening. There were sort of so, but the closest to us was Farmington. And I signed up for that on it's the 13th. Yeah.
Okay.
Greetings.
Traffic was bad.
All the good stuff.
Yeah, there was a train. Light was red.
Yeah, you got
That's
that.
fair.
Train and light, right?
You get stuck in the lights.
Yeah.
It was turning yellow. I was coming through out of gun.
Turning yellow.
Yeah, someone did make this month.
Not a thing.
It's the 13th of this month. Yeah, it's. I don't have the other things, but it's there. No, there's.
Oh.
On the 13th of Farmington, there's an afternoon and an evening one. Something like this.
The KLP one.
That wasn't the KLT.
No,
that was
That's
This is
the grant.
This is the trails
Through
program,
Doug.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Through Doug's. Program. So the other thing was the KLT training, which just sort of saw in the newsletter the other day, which looked great. I mean,
Yeah, it does look interesting.
That's
I may try to make that
the 16th,
right, Friday.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, if anybody could go, I think that would be really helpful. If it gets rained down, I'll go to the one 23rd, but I'm gonna be out of town on the 16th. So those, you know, those should be good. I think the, that maintenance one really looks like it would be helpful. On the landowners agreement, I started working on it, I tweaked it some. I didn't bother sending anything out, I was gonna wait till the training with Doug. Because I think the biggest thing that need to plug in really is on the maintenance piece. So I was waiting to see what they had to say before I did that.
Good call.
The, on the RSU two, just sort of generally process, I talked to Randy, this past week and, Steve had sent him some information on like what possible things that they might be able to do in terms of volunteer. You know, I think a couple suggestions were clean up before the work begins, sort of do some like initial type clearing before the work begins, clean up afterwards. And then also the signage. Randy was called me to follow up on that, and I guess he had talked to his board, and he said he went to a meeting and said, well, I've got money in my budget that could cover the other portion of the match, but that didn't fly. I guess he proposed it.
They don't want cash, they want.
He liked the idea.
They don't extract labor.
He did. So I said, I'll try to call. I said, I think the best thing would be the signage stuff and the kiosks. And
As long as we're agreeable on language, yeah.
I was trying to get, what I wanted to find out from Steve was in the portion of the budget that he has for the kiosks and signage, which is, it's like $20,000. How much of that is labor? You know, so how much? I have no idea, but I haven't heard back from Steve. Yeah, so that's sort of where that stands. Hopefully he'll get a hold of me soon.
I don't know, the whole kiosk thing is pretty. I mean, the signage kiosk expenses, there are like 17 different ways you could do that, ranging from, let's get a group of kids together and paint some signs to, you know, let's buy a super fancy thing that's gonna last 50 years. So,
Well, the kiosks, I think, would need to be, that's more than just a,
oh no, you're talking to a guy who put one together for like $100.
Right.
So,
We just say, we'd like something like that. Or
there you go, yeah.
We almost have to give them an example.
Yeah, give them a,
Right,
you're gonna have to make sure you
right, and
lock it down.
right, and I think the materials could be purchased and the labor could be, I mean, I think you need
Does he have a
design.
carpenter on staff? Does he have a carpenter on staff?
Close down.
Does he have a guy? You're the carpenter.
They're handy, probably. They're handy. I don't know. Yeah.
I guess if there's concern about that, maybe.
Give him a picture. Go to Pinterest and find 17 pictures.
They're there.
Okay.
We've looked. Yeah.
Really? It's the faculty that's gonna be doing the carpentry?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. So he's willing to do some, it sounds like, is there pre and post work? Would that cover it? I mean, would the people coming into with big machines really care if the branches are moved out of the way ahead of time?
I don't know how much there is of it.
When I was talking to Chris, he was saying if we could, whatever we can do to get out there to clear a corridor, to help out is gonna
So
save
that
in
they
costs
can-
and stuff. So if that's something we're looking into, like.
Sure.
What, I mean, is this crew like a landscaping crew?
No, when you say Chris, are you talking
No.
about from the mountain bike
Yeah,
coalition or whatever? And is
Yeah.
he talking about overall, like on?
yeah, he's talking
properties?
about, cause
Is he
I,
talking about RSU property?
he's like, you guys wanna save some money
you
and
must-
get the ball rolling, get out there and clear that corridor that you've already got marked out, cause that's gonna just get that ball rolling.
It's more of a the buildings and grounds, but it's more of a building type of group, the grounds pieces.
They don't do any building though. They
mow,
they paint. Do they paint?
probably, yeah.
Okay.
They mow.
They mow.
Yeah, so they can mow stuff.
They can weed whack. They can weed whack.
Right.
People online.
They're being recorded, right?
We'll work something out. We're gonna, I'll get back in touch with Randy after I talk to Steve. On the, so on the application, I took this afternoon, I worked a little bit on getting the narrative part in question, I call it question 3, I guess that's what they call it. It's number 3 in the project descriptive narrative summary. It says be informative and concise, so you know, what I was trying to do is grab a couple of key pieces from the report, put it in there and then just attach. We'll have the 2 reports as attachments. So there's 1 or 2 other, there's a couple of things I still want to put in. And we could tweak it, you know, after that. Don't, I'd say at this point, don't bother editing, but
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
just wait. I'm still sort of playing around with order and things like that, you know, but I sort of trying to get some ideas out there. The other, so I'm looking at, the one thing. The other sort of narrative. The 13. So Chris, if you, I think 19. I think this is. If you if you go to that training, I think that would be really helpful to.
Training on the 16th.
Yeah,
What is 19?
19 is how will the trail be managed after completion? So I think that training, I think, could give us some good information. And now, I mean, and that's also a question that I'm gonna ask when I go to the training on 13th with Doug. Sort of, okay, how much details?
Details do they need for that?
Yeah,
Is there anything in there about the recent select board commitment for the TIF district funds to be used dedicated for whatever maintenance expenses we have in the future?
okay, so what did?
Because at the last select board
Oh, I
meeting,
didn't know that.
yes, I brought this up at the last
Okay,
select board
great.
meeting.
Okay, excellent.
And gave them sort of the background of like, hey, not a whole lot of expenses for the next 5 or 7 years, but afterwards there will be some incidental expenses that will grow with time. And would folks be open to committing TIF funding to cover that based on, based on our surveys and, public's attitude toward wanting to support trails in town. So I made a motion, it passed unanimously, that we could make a commitment as a select board to cover maintenance expenses using TIF funding into the future.
Great.
That's
really
really
awesome. Of ball trails and
Of this RSU2, whatever we're applying for in terms of the grant. So that becomes sort of a commitment on behalf of the select board
Okay,
to do that. And if you want to reach out to Justin, just to get him, to give that
okay,
a
yeah,
written letter
yeah, I think that would be good.
Mhm.
that references that motion that there was a unanimously supported by the select board.
Yeah. How much is in the pot now? Good money for trails.
Well, there's the total pot of TIF money, which is a hard number. Okay, which has a substantial residual balance that's built up over the last 10 years.
Mhm.
So right now, the total pot is like $700,000.
Okay,
Within that pot, there are a number of sort of very flexible commitments that we can make and change allocations within that we could tailor as the town's needs change. So at the last meeting of the Economic Development Committee, and by the way, that pot grows at somewhere between $100,000 and $140,000 a year as the TIF district produces income that is sheltered from general fund stuff and from county and RSU obligations. So there's an accumulation that goes on year after year. Now, within that, sort of the things that we know are coming soon are the sidewalk project downtown. That's a multi-million-dollar sidewalk project where the town will be expected to either pay cash or pay with financing. It would be our preference to make as big a down payment on that as we can with cash from the TIF district. So that we're not, paying a lot of interest and obligating debt service for an extended period of time. But also within that is, we've sort of tentatively said like $30,000 to $40,000 a year dedicated to trails. Ballpark. And that's flexible. That can go up and down. The TIF, the operations of the TIF district require only a vote of the select board to allocate funds. So, and if we exceeded that $30,000 to $40,000 range in one year, that wouldn't be a showstopper. If we exceeded it every year, we'd have to refile our TIF district plan with the state to be able to say, oh, wait a minute, no. We're changing the allocation because we have sort of guideline that we've given the state that says, over the course of the next 20 years, we expect to spend, 20 years times $40,000 on trails. And if, we consistently exceed that, then we can never exceed the total TIF allocation, but we can change the pieces of the pie. Short term, very easily, long term, a little more difficult, but we could do it.
Okay. So one of the things I want to ask Doug at the training is, this is great, to what extent do they actually need, if they, a cash number or a cash set aside? Like, do they need something to show that it is set aside, available, sort of?
Well, I mean, you could cite our budget allocation of $30,000 to $40,000 a year.
Okay, okay,
Dedicated on an annual
Okay.
basis to trails in town.
okay. So I think
And
that might be good to have in the letter.
Yeah.
That level of detail in terms of what the cash available is gonna be. I think that
Right.
would be great. Other question, and I don't know when the sidewalk thing is coming up. So one of the issues with
me neither.
with the grant program is that it's a reimbursement program. So there's a little bit of a cash flow issue. So whether the town would be willing to sort of essentially sort of front the expenses and then get reimbursed, so.
Yeah. It would be up to a majority of the select board to do that. We would have the capability of doing that.
Okay,
But we'd need a majority to vote for that.
okay. I think it's a pretty quick turnaround in
Right.
terms of the
I
reimbursement.
mean, right now, the TIF funds are sitting in a non-interest bearing checking account, so they're not doing much, just sort of.
Okay, all right. So that's another question I
It's
can
not gonna
ask.
cost us anything, but we would have to get the select board
Okay,
to agree.
okay. That would be, ideally would be next. So, next summer, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's probably okay. I mean, DOT is sort of in the driver's seat on the sidewalk project and the sequencing and the timing of that. And,
That's Main Street.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they don't want to do the sidewalk project until they have the drainage issue underneath the sidewalk straightened out, so. And of course, that's why the water system is being updated now, is because they're trying to do that so that we do things once and sequentially.
Holes in the new sidewalk.
It's been done. It's not pretty.
Skateboarding.
Oh, yeah.
They got that park out. I got roller skiing or something. Not on Main Street.
What's the bike?
Mountain bike, yeah.
So, as I was thinking about going through, I think we're making good progress. Do we want to, something I was thinking about, maybe trying to set like an internal deadline for us to say, okay, this is when we want to get. Their deadline is the 26th, September 26th. I'd like to have it.
Well, before that.
Yeah, I was thinking like beginning of September, that we would be in a position to push the button, like maybe say like September 9th, like the week after Labor Day, just that should give us plenty of time. And also give us some time if there's recover if there's a goof.
Which means we really should have stuff ready to go a couple of weeks before.
I think during this, I think in August, we should be very well. That's what I'm thinking.
If we turn it in early, and he noticed a glaring error, he could fire back, say, hey,
We
let's
save
fix
us
this.
in time for that round.
Like, oh, you forgot to sign it.
I think if you, yeah, I think probably if you forgot. Say, like, oh, you didn't
Put the
include this.
paper up.
You didn't include this file.
Backside.
The format, I need a
Yeah.
PDF. Yeah.
Yeah.
Times New
I
Roman.
think they would hopefully tell you that.
Okay.
We talked to the Water Association about the. Yeah, they said it's okay. The only thing that they would is to the extent. If they had to do a maintenance on the line that disturbed the trail, then we would need to.
Just told us last time, yeah.
to,
We need to fill the hole.
Mhm.
I did. I asked for a copy of the easement from them. I got something that I don't think, I'm not sure is the final, so I might need to go to the registry of deeds to get it. I do want to find out exactly sort of
Mhm.
where it is.
Yeah. Is that not accessible online or do you have to show up in person?
For Monmouth, I think you have to go in person.
All deeds would be. The county.
Oh, you have to go to the county.
Well, it's
online. It should be.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
Oh,
you can do
okay.
that.
That's not good.
Oh, okay.
I think you can,
Do it online, okay.
As long as it's
Maybe.
filed.
Alright.
I think the last time they updated their database to a lot of people's constraint, a lot of legal people were like, you can't make that publicly available. Well, they did. Okay. No offense.
On the survey. That's one thing I think we want to include as part of, I think it'd be good to. Include the survey in response. One of the questions is how did you identify this as project as a priority? So I think it would be good to include the survey in that, that we did this. And we identified, this is a high need and it was consistent with our initial assessment.
What you put together that like condensed. I'll add that to our drive because that's, we can add as an attachment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else on the application?
Well, I think it's important as we go forward is to start identifying where our green trails are and all the different, like blue trails, black trails, all that stuff. Because if they're these over by the school, I'm assuming are gonna be all green trails. And all trails that are green and stuff come with a certain type of rubric and things that they have to adhere to make them green, and things like that. So I think that's gonna be an important piece to start doing when we're making signage and stuff like that, is understanding green trails are beginner trails, so there's not gonna be a whole lot of this and that on it. And then maybe as we branch out to other locations, like the tree farm, we can start adding some blue trails and some other things that will help spread out and branch and get people to do more parts of the town and hopefully get that to interconnect the whole web eventually. But like from that training I went to, it's once you understand what kind of trail you're gonna build, the layout and how you build it, it's super planful and super important that from the beginning, you have a clear vision of what we're gonna be doing and it's sustainable and why are we doing it? And does it fit the criteria of what we want? I'm assuming that all these trails over here are green.
Yes. Yeah, they're all, it's
Yeah.
accessible.
So yeah,
That's accessible.
universal.
Yeah, because it's
Universal,
less,
there's a
less,
certain amount of grade.
right, it's like,
Yeah, And I think that's gonna help as we go forward too, with when we get more established. People are like, oh, the green trails are over here. These are where these trails are. And it's just gonna help map the place out for us a lot better.
Picturing like a town-wide trail map with, that's color coded.
Yeah.
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 I don't, do you want to say anything else about that training?
I think that the training was awesome. It was really good. I feel a lot more confident going forward and understanding what we are looking for, how the trails will be built, how to maintain them. I mean, so there's 15 slots to the class, 10 signed up, 2 showed up. So it was me and another guy.
Oh, really?
And he's from RSU 20 and he's doing the same thing at his school by himself, kind of building trails with kids at school and trying
Where's
to.
that?
What's that?
Where's RSU 20?
Oh, is it Millinocket?
That's right. You can talk and I'll look it up.
Yeah. So his name's Eric and he's similar to what we're doing, but he doesn't have a committee or anything like that. He's just going rogue and doing his
Sears
thing.
Port.
But, it was like our main thing going forward is when we design the trails, is, you know, we're gonna be messing with water a lot. We're gonna have to figure out how to keep water off the trails and like, they're gonna give me a lot of files and things that they shared that'll help us with if we need to build bridges and stuff, all the specs, so we can say that this is an approved build bridge and things. And when we're talking about culverting and stuff, it might not be the best solution because in the long run, they're kind of more maintenance because you gotta clear them. And if they're not put in properly, the frost and stuff, pop them up and
Well,
it'll be more of a blowout than a helpful tool.
Hmm.
So that, I mean, it's just like I got pages and pages of like what we talked about, but it seems like where we're starting is good. And then going over to the tree farm location is gonna, for me, after going through this course, it's gonna take a lot more time to walk the land a few more times and get an understanding of the layout and understanding slopes and grades and how we want to run the trail so they meet the criteria of a blue trail, a green trail, black trails, and it's gonna be a lot of physical labor. And it seems like the ongoing issue is there's just not enough volunteers. A lot of people sign up, but when it comes time to showing up. So that's something we can look forward to is trying to figure out how we're gonna get these things in place and built. And then, yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of other places in the state that are kind of in the same mind frame as our town and doing what we're doing. So that's good, supportive. And Steve was saying that, you know, he set up a folder with the other gentleman that ran the course and anything we have, he said, just drop the information into the folder. We'll get back to you and we'll try to network that way. So it was good because we've got new connections and other avenues of resources we could use. But in the meantime, I think it's just gonna be a little slow pacing as we figure out other sections to open up for trails and how we want to do that and what that looks like. But if anybody else can get that, like any type of that training too, that'll be super helpful too, because then there's just another person that can understand and when it comes time for trail days and working and maintenance and stuff like that.
So was the focus on mountain biking or was it just all?
These are just like, this is
All
standard how
trails.
we build the trails. And then it's also like, so if you're building a trail, who's gonna use it? How are they gonna use it? Like, so how is it gonna run? Is it gonna be a kind of a flowing trail this way? And how are we gonna mark that? And then, stuff like that. So for trail sustainability, environmental, social, the capacity, like there's all this stuff that once I get, I'll share it with everyone so they can understand the general rubric they use when they're talking, stuff like that. But water management seems like it's gonna be our main thing to deal with. And like there's 5 basic rules for sustainable trails and all this stuff. So it's just, I'm waiting for them to get back to me with this information, then I'll send it out. And then we can look over and maybe take one meeting to just.
Do they have like sort of a written sort of material?
Oh, yeah, they have a ton. That's why I was like, how do I get my hands on that? They're like, just give me your email, we'll send it over
Oh,
to
that'd
you.
be
And I was like,
great.
yes,
Yeah.
thanks,
Who
guys.
was it that put the course on?
It was OSI, so Steve was there
Oh,
and
okay.
another gentleman, Ryan, from the Maine, where was he from? He was from a land trust out there.
So it must be based off the main.
Yeah, that's why I was like, give me, yes, yeah, because it all fits that criteria. So
Yeah,
they're like,
They've
well,
got a good It's just a small book or whatever that has all that stuff.
I left my phone in the car, but I took pictures too of some stuff. Like the kiosk doesn't have to be some grandiose thing too. They use like a little thing in the middle of the trail that's got, it's made out of a certain type of material. So if they ever have additions or different things to the trail, they can just peel that one off and get a new one and lay it on top of it. So it's like weather resistant through all types of stuff. So they have a lot of cool ideas that they were using that I took pictures of. Maybe next time when we all have the material, we'll go through it. But yeah, the way they work it and run it, they know what they're doing, and it's like a clockwork. It's finding volunteers and getting boots on the ground and doing some digging.
So how often do they do that, the training, you know?
I don't know, but I was thankful that, I mean, it was a free training, so, but I don't know how often they do it. I can get the information for that if we're.
Yeah, be
like a
interesting.
schedule, yeah,
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 they do it again, yeah. That written material, that'd be great.
yeah, as soon as I get that stuff.
Okay. Good. You want to talk about the Prescott Hill Trail and?
Yeah.
sort of-
So a few things, we did go out on the trails last Sunday, I think it was.
Mhm.
It was just Kathy and I and Berlina that showed up.
Sorry.
So- It was a little wet.
Yeah. As it has been.
So we walked all of the trail on Peter's land and put blue blazes to mark where the trail was. Where the main trail that we skied on was. There was a section where it approached the swamp, where we cut a new bypass trail to go around that, because that area is just always going to be wet. And for walking purposes, I think people would prefer to walk on something drier than have to walk through the wet. So it's a narrower trail. It's maybe as wide as this table, through a different area and goes around. So we blazed to the end of that, and then we did not do any more blazing on the trail, but my goal was to, at some point, finish the blazing around the rest of the loop. So if you're looking at this map, that would be, starting here at the tree farm, coming out around here. And then here's the little cut through. And then coming down around the rest of this loop and back up to the tree farm. That seems to be the cleanest walking loop that we could recommend for people. This is the swamp. It's always wet here. So that connector trail is not great. This also sometimes has poison ivy growing in there. Which
Keep people away.
And there's some poison ivy down on this trail right here that we've seen in the past. So I don't want to encourage people to walk where I know there's poison ivy. In general, people are gonna have to be careful anyway because poison ivy grows wherever it wants to.
Yeah.
So. I have written distances on this map, so at some point we can update the map with the distances. I think 1.7 miles for that loop.
That's good, yeah.
That's nice. That's a nice walk.
Is it green, black, or?
It's all green. But this section is wet.
Yeah.
That's where Peter had put down some bark in some of the low places and, but in general, that's wet. But the rest of it's not too bad.
Is it sort of seasonally wet, or are you thinking?
Well, it will dry out. If it's a dry summer like last summer, it'll dry out. But if it's a normal summer, I would expect it to be, you might be able to walk on the edge and you'll be okay. But the middle will be wet. Unless it's a particularly dry summer.
Maybe
And
not a
hopping.
trail running trail
Yeah,
necessarily, but definitely
well, like this
the
trail is,
hiking boots are fine.
hiking is fine,
Yeah.
but biking down there, I don't see that as being good until, you know, if and until we get some work done to improve that, because it's just too. I don't think people want to just ride through mud, and I don't want people to be riding through mud and damaging the trail surface. And that was one of the things I wanted to accomplish. I was hoping that more people would show up on this Sunday so that people could get a feel for what the soil is like, what things are like out there. Which parts of these trails are okay to bike? I mean, right now, I would not want to bike on much of this stuff. You know, some of this stretch and some of this stretch are fine, but a lot of the stuff is just too soft. And until we do improvements, I think there are plenty of opportunities if we get out into the woods to find areas that are dry. And it's much easier to cut a bike trail that's 4 feet wide than to cut a ski trail that's 12 feet wide.
Mhm.
Right,
So,
bike trails.
Well, to cut that
different than
4 foot, you're gonna have
ski
to have a
trails.
corridor of about 8 feet. Like, you're gonna have to clear a lot just to do that 4 foot tread and stuff.
Didn't follow that. At Blackbrook was top.
I don't know, I have to talk to Chris.
Yeah, sure.
But
I-
it depends on the grading of the trail too, because the, like, different ones, you don't have to have that wide of a tread. For like black, you can just do like single tread.
Right, and then narrow single trail.
Yeah,
My opinion of those trails is definitely that like hiking makes a lot of sense. I wouldn't think trail running because of the wetness. But like it, as like somebody who hikes in Maine, that's a pretty standard wetness for hiking. But I wouldn't be having fun if I was trying to do anything else, you know, I think, but then I think you all should check it out so
Yeah.
that you can.
It sounds a little similar to like the Curtis.
I've never
Yes.
actually been on those
It's,
trails.
it's wetter than Curtis, but not much.
It has, Curtis, it has like
Oh,
stretches where it's sort
yeah.
of a little mucky, but
Yep.
you usually could sidestep,
Yep.
you know, and you could sort of, and then they have for the realer, I mean, for the areas that are very mucky, they put down
Mm-hmm.
like half, you know, planks
Mhm.
just to walk off. So, I mean, that might be a.
Or we could just do the Everglades approach.
Fan boat?
No, it's just like you walk in 6 inches of water.
Yeah, you're just waiting.
You can't even see where you're putting your foot. You have to sort of, okay. Okay.
I'm not still singing, okay.
Yeah, right, that's what it is.
Serious. I did a 6 mile hike and I got the.
That's a rock.
6 miles at high tide. Took me all day.
Mm.
I have not been able to get a hold of Peter Bouchard still. I was kind of hoping that was him, and I don't know if
He
it
left.
was, but he's not here anymore.
Relax.
So I called and left messages and gone by the house and just have not had any luck, so we'll see. I am hoping to talk with Tom Oji within the next week or two to go over the items that I want to post out there, just the basic trail rules. So we kind of talked about this last time, having a set of winter rules and a set of summer rules, or winter being December, the winter season, December 21st through March 20th. When there's snow on the trails, so when we're grooming trails. If there's no snow out there, then we're not going to have restrictions on the usage, but I am asking it still to be reserved for skiing and snowshoeing when there is snow on the trails.
Mhm.
And then for the rest of the season, I've kind of written what I think are reasonable rules. And I just want to get confirmation that the landowners are
Mm.
okay with that. I think Tom Oshie is okay with that. And I haven't talked to Peter Bouchard about it. So a couple things that I have on here, no motorized vehicles, including e-bikes. Walking anywhere, biking only on trails that are marked for biking. Dogs are okay, but they must be leashed. I say, please stay on trails, be considerate around houses, avoid trails marked as private. I'd expect to put some sort of a private type sign on the trail that leads up to Peter Bouchard's house, just to discourage people, but, please stay on trails is kind of an open thing. There are a lot of trails out there. And we blaze the ones that will,
Be mapped.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. But I don't think there's any expectation that people are limited. If they want to go walk in the woods, they can. So.
You want to say, where you say dogs on leash, maybe we should add something that they should be cleaned up after.
I did say, here, please clean up after your dog. Yeah. Again, bikers, please stay on trails marked for biking and avoid trails during mud season or anytime you're sinking into wet areas. Damaged trails take longer to recover. Use trails with your own ability, conditions vary. Hidden hazards may exist. Trails may be wet and muddy, poison ivy and ticks. Landowners are not liable for you. And then I put on here, for your safety, wear blaze orange when on trails during hunting season. Hunting is permitted on land around trails only with landowner permission. So I just wanted to, get the landowners to see if they were okay with all this. And if they are, then I'll post this and let people know that this is available. But I don't want to post this without having their agreement first.
Sure.
And I don't really want to post anything else to just say, trails are available. So all that's out there right now is still the sign that says this is for groomed trails or for cross-country skiing.
Right now we're in a new season.
Yeah.
With the dog piece, I don't know what a lot of different woods trails in Maine, if they use the leash or if they use within voice control. What do people think about that as far as?
I'd go leash. People are gonna do what they're gonna do, but if you've told them to use a leash and then something goes wrong,
Right.
then it's not your problem.
Right.
And
Especially with.
Nothing out of crop
Especially
anyway.
on
Yeah.
private property,
Yeah.
But they
I
can
would
go
say,
to
so
Curtis
the dog
for
stop,
all.
probably, the dog, if the
You can
dog
go to
runs.
Curtis.
then
Yeah,
you
it's
got a
too
problem.
many,
You got a
it's too many.
I've been chased by a dog.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want, I
If we
mean,
have bikers out there, I feel really uncomfortable about having dogs around bikes.
Yeah.
In the woods.
well,
I would never
and
mind
also
once you get a dog.
I mean, not everyone's a dog person, so you want to make sure that people feel safe.
Right.
So they know that if there's a dog there, it's supposed to be home.
Oh, yeah, Whittier too, I got not attacked, but the dog jumped at me a lot, and it wasn't cool for me.
Yeah, yeah.
I wasn't having a good
Yeah.
time. The dog was though.
The other thing you might consider, I use this when I give canoes and kayaks to guests. I give them the rules, and then at the last statement says, use of this piece of equipment implies you're going to obey these rules.
Mm.
Right? So you
Well,
might think about just saying,
Yeah.
you're gonna be on our trails, you've implicitly agreed to this.
so. Yes. But we have some other people that are interested in using the land, like hunters. Hunters will be on the land and they'll be wandering wherever they want. They're not going to be staying on the trails. They're not, and there's no expectation that they would. So I don't want to say that if you're in here, these are really hard rules and,
Yeah.
I just want to have general guidelines to let people know this is what we expect,
Right.
We have language about horses,
We do not.
if you don't want them on there. You don't care.
Well, the horses, it was something that we've thought about in the past. I don't think that the trails are well suited for horses because they're kind of wet right now and they have places where we have pallets laid down for, crossing of things.
Yeah.
So we haven't specifically said no horses, but we also don't want to say horses are allowed
Mhm.
because that might encourage people to take their horses out there so
I would
thank you though.
they're not prepared for horse, the trails aren't prepared. They weren't walked by an equestrian, so we don't know if they're good enough for horses or not.
It would be
The
interesting to
landowners
have,
are okay with it. They did say they were okay with horses. We just haven't prepped them for that. Like we haven't really made them for biking yet either.
No, there's nothing out there yet.
So,
Just what exists.
yeah.
if you're interested in taking a walk out there and seeing if you think that they would be okay for horses.
I was just
would
thinking
be-
about like 16-year-old me would go anywhere on.
There's some sections that a horse would be fine on.
It wouldn't,
Yeah.
pallet, like, okay.
Like that main highway.
I mean, I'm happy to walk it, but.
Are you a horse? Or do you have horses?
Cool.
I
I
don't
think
I don't trail ride with them, but I did when I was a kid. We destroyed some stuff, so.
I don't think the brush clearance is high enough for the equestrian. That's part of the problem. The trees aren't trimmed high enough for
Yeah,
horseback riding, potentially in some areas.
I was just thinking, if you're doing all this maintenance, it'd be a shame if they weren't built for that and it destroyed this maintenance.
Right.
Yep.
You could just add another little image at the bottom.
With the X over the.
well,
Horse at your risk.
Yeah.
yeah, so we've got the pictures and it doesn't show horses on there, so.
Yeah.
Does it show ATVs?
Does not.
I'd say. I mean, I put all the possible
But it does
things that
sit-
people might abuse.
I mean, they'll probably be out there some days and hear Bouchard out there on his ATV because he's got tons of trails out there.
Yeah,
So
but, you know,
there'll be
it's good that he
discrepancy. Yeah.
He's so loud.
He can drive down the trail, someone stops him and says.
No, that's what I mean.
I have
He's fine, but the other people be like, why is he?
Right.
Right, that is. Um. Oh, I can pick up that culvert. There's one culvert at the transfer station that we're welcome to take. So. Do you think you could?
We fit it in a pickup truck or do we need a trailer? My flatbed still has roofing on from 2 years ago, but my
I think we could put it in the back of a pickup truck. It'll be hanging
It'll
out
fit in the
back
back.
of it, right?
right, just gotta tie it up.
Yeah.
Zip guys.
I got wood in the back of my truck.
Ratchet straps.
Yeah.
Not going far, officer.
Yeah.
Guys,
Drive 25.
That's probably.
Drag it in the wood from there.
Put a red flag
Put
out.
a red flag on your head.
Well,
Do it at like 6 a.m. in the morning.
more than 12 feet long.
Totally fine.
Do it on a rainy day when no one's.
What are we gonna do with it?
It's probably 24 inches diameter.
Caber tossing.
Where are we putting it?
I was
What
thinking.
trail system are we putting it on? How about that?
Well, I don't think we,
We shouldn't need it here because there's plenty of
Right.
like
No, we don't want it.
there's
There's
a grant budget
Exactly.
for that.
Right.
so,
So drop it next to my house somewhere and use it from
yeah, I
there.
think we would probably put it at Midway where the stream crosses right there.
Where's that?
We have to build a bridge there every year.
Where's that?
As you come up out of the woods, out of the field, go up the hill. And then,
Oh, yeah, you're talking
Right
about
at the
at the. Oh, that's the high. You put a sign on a tree right there.
yeah,
It's not labeled on this one. Okay.
it's labeled Midway on there. If you can see that.
It's gonna be crazy.
I'm gonna hold it over here.
Might need to.
Yeah, properly installed.
What'd you say? I know where you were. Midway, yeah.
I don't think it'd be ridiculously heavy.
Oh,
Yeah, but
Sure, yeah. You want to grab it tomorrow or Saturday? That sounds like a more than one person job. Loading.
Yeah. Saturday, maybe? Yeah, what are you doing on Saturday?
We'll talk.
I can help
Is that-
tomorrow, but not help Saturday.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't know what,
Friday's not my deal.
Cam's gonna Friday.
That's exciting.
I could probably help tomorrow afternoons, after school.
Okay. Maybe 11th hour, like right before they close, like 3.
Yeah.
Not sure if I'm required to stay there till 3:30, but figure it out. Good for tomorrow. We'll talk. Text me.
Okay.
Got the truck.
I think that's all I have for the trails.
Great, thanks. There. Old business or new business?
There's gonna be, just as an FYI, conversation at the select board a week from tomorrow, at our next meeting about the ATV / side-by-side use of public ways. Police chief has a very preliminary, well, he's got a recommendation for a number of policies that the select board will consider to be part of our packet.
I did create a folder, like a Google folder, which I shared with as many people as I could. If you don't have a Google account, I guess I wasn't able to, so I don't know if Chris or Chuck was able to get you.
Yeah, share it just with a regular.
I thought so.
I do have. Google.
I have a Google
You
account.
do?
I have Gmail and.
I'm gonna try it again, and then if it takes me back, I'll just reach out to both of you individually.
Okay,
So that you have access to all of those files if you
Okay.
need them.
Okay, great.
As our draft folder, but I already put I've been trying to put everything in one place there.
What's it called?
It's the Monmouth Trails Committee folder. I shared it a while ago. I don't know, you might also be on the list of who did not get the access. So that's one thing, I guess that's my business, is that I need to make sure everybody has access.
Did you end up hearing anything back from the DEP with regards to,
Yes, we're good on DEP and
Inland fisheries.
IFW, yep,
nice?
Good, they sent letters.
yes,
Oh, great.
yep,
Okay.
yeah, and those are in here now.
They're in there. Okay, great.
Yeah. Yeah, the IFNW response is a little bit confusing, but I believe we're covered. So if anybody wants to read through it, it's mostly just saying we don't have any data to say that there's anything endangered or protected in these areas.
I think that's probably.
There you go.
that's probably-
Yeah.
That's the best as they could do.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it didn't specifically say you have to hire somebody to find out that information or anything like that. So I think we're good. Yeah. Yeah, I think we're fine. And then same goes for that. Yeah, they're both in here, but let me try and share this. If I had just a slightly faster. So, yeah,
Right, we should get funding, so it's like-
you should have access, Sean.
Cam's provided some videos.
I don't have. Wait, who's Squirrel?
That's right.
That's you. Nice. Okay, got you. You twice here. Really, and I have the David Cody.
That's me too.
Yeah, I got you twice. But yeah. So I don't have Ken, I don't have
Ken got actively on it.
Kent dot act. But that's all I have, just that it exists, and I'll make sure everybody
Okay.
has access
Yeah,
to
you
it.
have my email.
Oh, can I actually tell it to me right now? I'll add you.
Roadie guy 76. At Gmail.
I'm hearing things.
Oh,
That's cool. Apparently,
Needs, uh,
yeah, the right pitch. The other pitches I can't hear.
You definitely get the email here.
Mm.
Hopefully it will work this time.
Okay.
Chris, I'm gonna add that.
So when
That's
did
up
we
to-
say the
that's a-
deadline was for the grant? Is that September now?
September 26th,
We're gonna shoot for September 9.
early.
Mhm.
And I don't think, I mean, for those that are here at the meeting, I don't know that we actually formally talked about what the RSU is kind of like the focus that we're working on a grant for. I don't know if that's something that, but we're in the process. We worked with a company called OSI, Outdoor Sports Institute. They did an evaluation of kind of like our town in a few different areas that we have already kind of established some trails, some being over off Prescott Hill Road. There's like the tree farm for Frederickson's Tree Farm area, which is where some of the trails that were discussed are. And then the other section that they kind of evaluated was primarily on the RSU property. The RSU property is where we're kind of like starting as a little hub. It's all on the RSU property, and we're gonna look to establish a trail system over there that's open to the public.
Mhm.
So that either when people are just looking for a place to walk, it'll be off the roads, but it'll also be accessible for a variety of people. So that's kind of, what's that?
Thank you for explaining.
Yeah, no problem. So we're looking at getting some funding for that. It's a slight match piece, right? What is
10%.
10%.
we need to basically front 10%, but the remainder can come from the state grant that we're gonna be
Yeah.
applying for,
So
so.
it's about a $220,000 question, is what they estimated.
But the town, we will look to do some of that as we talked about, some of that will come from TIF funding, which has been allocated towards trails. The other piece, we're looking for the RSU to take some ownership as well, just because it is gonna really benefit the school as well, being right on their property, so.
Never talked outside like that.
But that is
Yeah,
that
not even-
report actually
Even a
posted
little bit more
anywhere?
than that. Looks like it's covering on it. The other one's like.
Thought it was on the website.
Okay,
We should make it available.
yeah, the town will or should have that report that OSI did that will kind of overview some of the stuff that was looked at. So,
And then the other report, I think, we're gonna try to get that.
Yeah, still trying to get one of the landowners to review it before we release it. But
Oh, that's right.
is there anything specifically that you had interest in?
Maybe, I think I came with two purposes, well, three, I guess, one I wanted to. And the second is where landowners on Norris Hill Road, I think it's 63, so that's from Norris Hill Road down to 202. Just kind of a straight path down, and we don't use 23 or 24 of those acres. And the snowmobile trails cut right along from Blue Road across.
Yep.
At Cooper Orchard. And separate to all of this, I had started talking to folks on Norris Hill Road about developing some trails. My husband pointed out that this was happening and I was like, oh, thank God. So that was part number one. And the second one is, I do project management and business development, so I think I can help on the back end on these things if it's something that is a need.
Cool. Great.
You want to join our committee?
We do have, we have a vacancy.
Yeah, we do.
Could help on like the fundraising promo narrative, your grant stuff. That's what I do. So
Oh, fantastic.
if it's something you want help with and it's not a redundancy, I'd be happy to help.
Awesome.
Yeah.
No, thank you very much for coming. And as far as that area, so the snowmobile trail itself, are we on your property at all? I think it's like pretty much all on Cooper from what I understand, but I do know exactly. So is like the old Veterans Cemetery, is that actually on your property?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
It was just something I had been spitballing around and I've walked it and we've talked about what are we gonna do with it, and my dad was like, you should just go and
yeah,
talk to them, so
awesome.
That's great.
perhaps a future project, but just
Yeah.
something that was on.
Well, that was the thing that Chad was talking about it, we're sort of looking at this as sort of like, the link to
Yeah.
possibly do other things for the
Right.
town. I mean, one nice thing is that it's gonna connect to the sidewalks already, so you have like a mile and a half of sidewalks that's gonna plug into, so you have about another mile and a half of trails there. And then, there's some other possibilities off of that we've looked at.
Yeah,
And
for
I like
sure.
drive to Curtis to go run my dog, so I mean, it'd be lovely to have one.
Oh, sure.
There's another piece of property that we've got a landowner that is willing to work with establishing some trails. It's down off the Packard Road. And there's a significant amount of land down that way that they're
Yeah.
looking at as well. So that would be one where you may have to utilize Packard to kind of connect, but it
Well,
really is.
we own that
opportunity.
farm, and then right in front of Cooper, that little house
Yeah,
with the dirt road going down, that's my house. So we own that road that goes straight back towards Cooper, so it actually
Okay.
pretty slick and easy.
nice.
Yeah. Anyway, just.
Very
something to
cool.
spitball.
It's right across the
Yeah.
street from that
Well,
land.
Remind me of your name.
I'm
Right
Jen.
across from Packard.
Thanks for
See you again. How are
Yeah.
things going with Cooper and the bird cannon things?
I think he stopped doing the bird cannon and he stopped draining a bunch of stuff on our property, so we're in pretty good shape.
Excellent.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal. For a while, we lost our guard dog, like, can't guard anymore. He's an
Yeah.
indoor dog now. So it's sad.
Yeah, we could hear those things over on our side of
It was-
Still Road as well.
Yep, it was not a great time. But yeah, I think he stopped.
Blasting the skippers away.
It's these propane cannons that would go off every like
Yes, trying to,
between 30 to 90 seconds from like
Random.
6:30 AM to 7 at night.
Random, just random. Well, trying to scare the crows away
Yeah.
from the,
Oh,
what is it, the crisp apples.
it was one specific type of that.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming, and if you decide to join us, we do have a vacancy.
We do, and we have applications at town hall. All you do is fill in an application and one of us will
Get
steward
sworn
it
in.
through the select board.
Thanks. Have somebody on Zoom, Mr. Deal, have any comment or?
It was a chat, but I don't know.
Yeah, chat. One thing in the chat.
Is Kent's committee looking at town roads or private land?
Is Kent's committee looking at town roads or private land? So if you're referring to my comment, Neil, about the use of ATVs and side-by-sides on public ways, then what is being discussed is to allow on a trial basis the use of a point-to-point network. So that someone could say, go from the Packard Road to the town beach using a side-by-side. There's certain circumstances. I think the police chief will get into the details, the nitty-gritty of the time frame, the time of day, the restrictions on who can drive, what do they have to be wearing when they're driving, i.e. helmets and all the other things that would be required. And exactly what the public safety implications of that would be. So, the roads that are being considered I'll try to remember every one of them, but I might miss one here. The network is limited at this point to, the Packard Road, down the hill of Norris Road, from the intersection of Packard to Academy Road on Norris Hill. All of Blue Road between 202 and Main Street. Main Street would be included from the Quick Stop intersection with Academy out to the Chick's Orchard Fruit Stand, Welsh Avenue, Maple Street, Pleasant Street, Old Gray Mill Road would be included, Beach Road would be included, and all of Academy Road would be included as well. So those are sort of the preliminary limits of what we're thinking about. that is also easily managed and changed by a vote of the select board. So if that's too small or too large, then people can come to the select board and say, oh no, you guys have made a serious mistake. This needs to be in or this needs to be out. And with a simple vote of the select board, we can ask the public works people to change the signage and move stuff around. But that's our sort of preliminary beginning. And it's a trial. We're gonna try it for a year or two and then sort of reflect on how it goes. But the idea is to help local town businesses. And this is again during the non-snow season. So we're thinking like it's April, November type of thing when people might be out and about and wanting to be enjoying good weather. That's the general idea. There'll be a public hearing about it, coming at the next select board meeting. And there's a few hoops that we need to jump through. We've got to get the state commissioner, DOT commissioner to sign off when we make changes on state administered roads. So, that's probably a little bit of a delay, but more of a formality than anything.
The idea is that if there is any ATV trail built at some point, that it could be connected to this public
Right.
road.
Right. So this would be sort of a backbone for any future ATV trails that a private landowner might want to offer public use for. So it would be, give us a little bit of practice in terms of managing that use of public ways. So that if at some point someone said, oh no, I'd like to open my property up to ATV use, then we could extend the network to that particular trailhead for people, so they wouldn't have to trailer an ATV to take it to some other place and have a parking space and all that other stuff. So anyway, we're simply trying to encourage, more outdoor recreational use. Similar to a snowmobile trail.
And that was ATV side by side as well as golf cart.
So golf carts are potential future use. The police chief actually did some legal research, and discovered that golf carts statewide are not approved
Okay,
because they're not licensed.
interesting. Gotcha. So it has to be some sort of registered.
Yeah, it's gonna have to be a registered vehicle. If that changes with the state legislature, then obviously we would be able to adapt. And it would, I'm not sure what the big difference is, but
What's faster?
yeah, I mean, I guess. Although you can have some pretty souped up golf carts that go pretty fast.
I mean, it's the level of accountability. So if you register an ATV,
You know who,
ATV.
yeah, you know who the
so,
owner is.
As opposed to a golf cart where I could mysteriously.
Yeah, and then
Leave it.
abandon it, right, and you wouldn't know who the owner is.
Mhm.
Good, thanks. Let's, future
You got another
meetings.
question up there.
No, it
just
says
says
thanks for
thank
the update.
Oh, okay.
We
I
have,
got Total Gadget.
so our next meeting's the 27th of May, then we have one on June 17th. Well, maybe. Why don't we take a look at scheduling some into July? So. That is July 1st, look for folks, is that? And then we're getting into.
I might not be here. July 1st, you said? That's that's 4th of July weekend, extended lot. So I might not be there.
It's before, years before the, it's that.
Yeah, it is. Their annual Moosehead trip, so.
Do we want to think about changing, well, I guess that only affects teachers. Like, we could change times of meetings because it's summer, but everyone's good with this time. Well, if we want to start meeting at different times too, once June.
Wrestling season out, so I don't have to meet at 7 at night. I can meet earlier. If the 7 o'clock is
Yeah.
for me, I can meet earlier.
Seemed like the 7 work.
You guys are good.
I like 7.
Yeah, 7 work.
Alright.
Thank you very
Thanks, Jen,
much.
for coming. Appreciate it. Let's stick with 7. I want to say the first and the.
It's a little past Chris's bedtime, but I think it's okay.
First and the.
My brain slows
9 o'clock
after
meeting
that.
next Tuesday night, so this.
9 o'clock.
Overtime for that one.
Teamwork's amazing.
At 9 AM there, like, or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, accommodate for you.
Well,
You want to say the 1st and the 15th? Then. In July?
Yep.
Sure.
My dentist appointment, yeah, that'd be great.
Not sure, I don't think.
It's spotty for people in Somerville.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right,
That's right.
yeah, okay. All right, great. Thanks. Any, I think that's it. Anybody, move to adjourn?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second? Dave, second. All in favor? Adjourn, thank you.